sales is not about pushing product. Sales is about creating value. And you can only create value with clients if you understand them. The best way to be able to capture the attention of somebody is not to start with your tech. Again, tech is just a mechanism to achieve an outcome. And don't start with the outcome either, because the outcome may be irrelevant to the person that you're talking to. Start with the problem. Poke the bear.
Welcome to Upsell, where top sales legends reveal the playbooks they hardly ever share. With your host, Wilson Dike,
sales solution experts. It's real talk, real strategy.
and it's starting now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. And with us today, we have a very seasoned professional. He is Eduardo Silva. He is a seasoned technology executive, a growth strategist, and a commercial leader with over 2 decades of experience driving innovation and scaling across global telecommunications, SaaS, and digital infrastructure sectors. Currently, he's a vice president of where he is, and he is helping scale a pioneering AI and video platform ecosystem that will transform customer engagement and operational efficiencies for telcos and utilities. Ladies and gentlemen, Eduardo Silva. Hi, Eduardo.
Hi, Wilson. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. You know, we've our paths have crossed a couple of years ago, and what I do know about you is that you are a hunter. You are a salesperson to the core. I know that you have opened up markets, and you are also versed now in the future of AI and how AI can help businesses, and how AI is transforming the way we sell, is transforming the way people do businesses. So just to get into it real quick, I'd like to ask, how AI is transforming the sales process as we speak today, and based off of what you know and how it has changed from 20 years ago when you started and now.
Thank you for that kind introduction and those kind words. I have been blessed to be able to have a lot of experience across Spain, Europe, the US, Latin America, driving growth markets, as you said. And the topic of AI is one that's very interesting. It really depends. The way I'm seeing it in the sales side is, obviously you can concentrate, depending on what type of technology sale you have. You can concentrate on smaller SME kind of customers and markets, or you can concentrate on the big enterprise deals and corporate accounts. Okay, depending on where you go, AI is being leveraged, particularly for those tools that are more geared towards automation, and that typically tends to be brand awareness, marketing, communication, chatbots, BDR or business development chatbots, especially for the lower end on SMEs, because you're basically selling a very defined product. The level of customization that the customers may ask you to create, and the differences in the use cases between the different customers typically tend to be smaller, and therefore you can automate and you can leverage AI's capability to be able to rinse and repeat as you are doing outreach and engagement. And so I'm seeing a lot of the sales process being automated and the engagement side of things being leveraged on AI in the lower ends. When you're talking about enterprise sales, though, that's a different beast. Okay, enterprise sales, there is more custom use cases. There is, even though you're selling the same product to every single customer, there are different and myriad ways in which these organizations use your product. And indeed, not only how they use the product and what use cases and ROI they might see particularly, but also the political landscape in which decisions are made. The way decisions are made in every single company is different, and therefore you need a more human-centric approach on how to make sense out of all of that. Because of it, AI is being used, and this is basically where I'm concentrating right now with the current companies, in big companies. It's more being used in outreach. It's being used in brand awareness, the same as in the smaller ones. But the moment that you connect the conversation gets carried forward by human BDRs, and AI becomes a productivity tool that enables you to be able to take notes, for example, to automate and understand, based on what the customer is saying, certain patterns or trends that allow you to be able to position better a particular use case, an ROI, or a product feature by listening in to what is being conversed in a particular conversation, like you and I are having right now. So in the markets, in the SME markets, there's a lot more automation that is happening right now. In enterprise markets, it is outreach and then productivity, a productivity-based usage that we have on the sales side. That's what we're seeing.
Okay, yeah. Speaking on productivity here, how can sales rep, leverage on AI to make the most of productivity, especially when it gets to the enterprise level? So how can we leverage it? Because we know, like you rightly said, that at some point in time, AI stops, then human interaction takes it further. It's only as we speak today, as we know it, as we know AI here, that's where it is. In the future, maybe, but currently, how do you make the most of it to ensure that the conversation, when it goes from non-human to human, it's smooth, it is authentic, and it helps you get closer to closing up the deal?
I think that one of the core elements of being a good sales guy, a good salesperson, is preparation. Okay, preparation, mindfulness, and the capacity to be able to produce and tailor your message to your client. So when we talk about your research, AI is a fantastic tool to be able to go in and understand your customer better than I used to do. Like 20 years ago, I would go to the corporate accounts and corporate reports of clients, stockholder meetings and so forth, and pour through 50 pages of documents to try to understand what the strategy was of the entire business. And then, countless research in LinkedIn back in the day, or even before LinkedIn, like specialized firms that would supply me with information about particular individuals and maybe their job changes and so forth. Today, ChatGPT allows you to be able to ask the question, let me know how is I don't know, OpenReach, for example, or how is Vodafone, or how is what's the strategy of VMO2 in the case of the telcos here in the UK. So there's a lot of work that AI can give you to be able to understand better your client, doing research and making it faster and more effective. On the second hand, you have the capability to be able to use open ChatGPT and OpenAI, basically, for example, to be able to analyze reams of data. Okay, you can download spreadsheets and ask ChatGPT to be able to analyze those spreadsheets to provide you with the trends that you require to be able to understand better what is actually going on in the market, what is actually going on within the client itself, and to be able to assist you in writing very sharp and concrete messages that improve the success rate that you might have in that outreach, while at the same time serving as a template with the research that you've already performed with them to ensure that it is as individualized as possible. And then you put your own little final sauce to it. And then whilst you're speaking to the client and whilst you're analyzing what the client is saying, it can assist you to be able to tailor the message to that client even further by listening in to the client's conversation and focusing on, for example, is he in a cost-saving mindset, or is he in a growth mindset, and so forth. So I am seeing AI looking at that level of an understanding, and those tools are incredibly effective. I use them every single day to be able to do the job better, faster, and at scale.
Okay, so now you see that AI is almost part and parcel of what we do as salespeople, and it helps us at least to take the monotonous work out of the deck, and it allows us to focus on strengthening that relationship with the customers and trying to get to the finish line based off of what the customer's preferences, like you rightly mentioned, either they are in a growth mindset or just trying to cut costs. So in the next 5 years, how do you see AI's impact in the way we sell? Is it going to go beyond that? Is there a way AI would encroach into the human part or human portion of the sales cycle? based off of what you've seen, because you've been here over 2 decades. You have seen the trend. You were there before LinkedIn. You were there even before the AI tool started. From door-to-door transactions, door-to-door conversations. How do you see, based off of what we are seeing so far, how do you see AI, coming of more relevance in the next 5 years?
It's difficult. Look, it's a difficult question. It's a great question, but it's a difficult question. It's a difficult question because we don't know the limits of what AI actually can bring to the table in the future. But I will tell you this: whenever you think about selling in the enterprise side, especially the enterprise, the SME market is a little bit different, but it's in the enterprise. You always have to think about the fact that you're marrying the way you're trying to build a business proposition and an ROI model for big businesses to be able to invest in your technology. And that is all based on metrics and indicators and trying to identify the economic buyers and the champions. But there's a lot that you're doing to try to get to the point of understanding the pain that the customer has, and then tying an ROI model against your technical solution that you might bring to the table, right? The opportunity for AI is there. I think that there's a lot that AI can do to help accelerate your understanding of the problem, your understanding of the economics, your understanding of the process. But where AI faces its limit is the reality. In order to sell in enterprise, is not that it isn't enough to have a very compelling proposition on the table. It isn't enough.
Yeah.
There also needs to be political will to be able to make a change. You need those game changers that we call them. You need those people who actually provide you with the political cover, the authority, and the capacity to be able to make decisions to change. And secondly, you need to take into consideration all the time that success in these kinds of projects and sales cycles do not depend exclusively on the technology. It's also about a people process, a change in the way that people work. Whatever it is that you're selling, could be fintech, could be a field operation solution, a CRM system, whatever. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, any technology introduction that you do within an enterprise requires people to change the way that they're working. These two areas, assessing the complexity and bringing people to buy into the idea of change, and the understanding of the political landscape in a particular organization to simplify the buying process and finding out which of these are game changers in reality, they are something that at the moment, I do not believe in the next 5 years, AI will be in a capacity to evaluate. And the simple reason for that is because there is a lot of emotion and there's a lot of nonverbal cues that tell you, because no enterprise is an open book. Nobody's going to tell you all of their agenda at any point in time. So there's a lot of information that you glean out of conversations, water cooler conversations, coffees, lunches, as well as the formal meetings that you might have, that give you a lot of information about how to tailor the message and how to find those people who are actually going to make your deal happen. And that is the softer part of sales, which I believe is something that's going to be difficult for AI to do. So these are the two areas. One where I think AI can do a lot. One where I think AI will be challenged at the very least to be able to replicate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That's good to know. So what would you advise people that want to adopt AI into their sales methodology, or people that are new to AI? How do you advise that they approach the use of AI, especially in their sales methodology and sales process?
I think at the very least, what I try to do right now is I try to leverage the best of AI. And right now, the best of AI is to use it as a productivity tool to take away and release a lot of hours that I used to spend doing things that were more admin focused, and automate that to be able to make me more effective in the conversations that I might have with the clients. So instead of trying to worry about the specificities of the particular landscape of the organization, whether they are focused on opening new markets or they're focused on doing cost savings, or I rely on AI now to be able to make a lot of that research. Of course, you can always sanitize it a little bit with your own research, but I rely a lot on AI to do that. And where I concentrate is the value add that I think I bring to those conversations and my team brings to those conversations, which is the deeper understanding of the people. We're selling to people, and we're selling to those organizations to be able to glean out of every conversation something that tells me, is this the person that I need to, has this person bought the idea? Is this the person that is going to make that idea a change? Is this the person that will support me on the sales process? So that's how the overarching strategy, that's how I use it. AI is productivity. AI is the facility to be able to disseminate information within the organization quickly. But AI for me is a springboard to make even more sales and touch even more accounts than I could touch before.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting to note. AI is for productivity, and there's a springboard to touch, as many accounts faster than you would ordinarily would or could if you were doing it manually. Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So let's move on to something else. And this is talking about breaking into tech sales, for people, because the main crux of this podcast is to give people reasons to join sales, and those that are salespeople by professional salespeople naturally, or want to build careers into this. So what are these essential skills needed to break into tech sales now?
Honestly, the number one skill is curiosity. Curiosity is the number one skill. Curiosity and passion for what you do. Whenever I think about hiring a new salesperson, coming out of university, the most important thing that I look for is these two qualities. No salesperson can be successful without a genuine interest in understanding somebody else's point of view and somebody else's business. Sales is not about pushing product. Sales is about creating value. And you can only create value with clients if you understand them. You cannot create value from the point of view of just throwing at them a bunch of figures or numbers that you've been told that your product is capable of performing or doing. That helps no one, because you don't understand the particularities of that business to see whether they can actually achieve any of the numbers that you're saying. So I think that is the innate nature of a salesperson: curiosity and passion. And passion because sales is also a numbers game. There needs to be a self-motivation to be able to continuously persist in trying to get to the point where you're actually achieving some level of value creation. People are gonna tell you no a lot of times. But as long as you can understand and be centered on the fact that I'm speaking to these people is because I want to help them, not because I'm trying to push them stuff, then it makes more sense for you to put yourself in a position where you understand that a no from them is not a no to you. It's a no to either the product or the timing or anything like that, right? So those are the attitude basis, especially for newer people. In terms of preparation of understanding the sales process, of course, it doesn't hurt for you to have a mindset or a process that you're working towards. Okay, so whether you're using Medic or you're using Spin or you're using Miller Hyman or Challenger Sales or something, the important is for you to read and research the different sales methodologies that are being used, specifically in the industry that you're going into, whether it's SaaS, or whether it's traditional sales, or whether it is, for example, services sales, consultancy services sales, for example. So research and then take from each of those processes what you feel is best and what is more suited to your style of communication, and then be able to then use that to be able to be effective in the sales process. But what you should absolutely have is a process. Don't wing it. Have a process that you're using. I'm going to do this, and this, and these are the markers that are going to tell me I am actually advancing in my sale, let's say. So these are the two advices I give anybody who wants to join sales. Be curious, be passionate, do your research, have a process.
Yes. And speaking of process, there's someone I know in the past that told me, I'm sure you know the person as well, that told me that sales is methodological. It's also like is mathematical. So you have to. I know you know the person that told me that. So you have to you have to build, and you have to have a methodology towards it. And that's why you stress the importance of having a process. You don't need to wing it, because you're meant to have markers to know if you're going off the mark or if you're in. And you have to be agile with it. You have to be consistently checking to see if what you're doing is making sense or is leading you to the end where you want to be. And if it's not, you switched up as quickly as possible. So that I wanted to put that in, because someone I know very dear to me told me that, and that has been my watchword. You have to have a process. Yes, you need to be passionate, you need to be curious, but without that process, it makes it a lot more difficult for you to know what you're doing, right? So what about networking? How important is networking as a salesperson?
Very, very. The curiosity aspect that I just touched upon allows you to be able to build those networks. A person that is really interested in another human being shows it in their stance, in the way that they speak to the other person. In that curiosity connects people together. And so the more people you know, building your network as you grow. So, but this is a mindset you need to have at the beginning of your career. But of course, at the beginning of your career, you will not have a network. The network you will have is the people that you've gone to university with, which are all going to be in a very similar position as you are at this point in time. However, that's a very powerful network in the future, because those people are going to grow up, they're going to become leaders in their industry, and then all of a sudden you will have a powerful network there. So networking is very important, but it is a function of how curious you are as a human being. If people believe that you are only talking to them because you want something from them, that isn't going to work. If people believe that you are genuinely interested in helping them, that's how you build long-term relationships. And of course, as a salesperson, you should always dedicate a little bit of time in those events that you're going to, that your company forces you to go to, or in those conversations that you're having with existing clients. You want to go and meet as many people as possible within those clients. And if you are curious, if you are genuine about your desire to help them, if you connect people together or connect people to answers to questions or problems that they might have, you will create relationships that will last you a lifetime, and you will be able to go back and sell and sell and sell again without it being a use of the person or the business. It's more a bi-directional value creation relationship, let's say.
Okay. So one more question to tie everything together. We talked about curiosity, we talked about having a process and networking, but all this stems from having a very solid foot in the door, or making a first impression, which means that you have to have a solid pitch, a pitch that would resonate and last for a long time. So how would you advise people to approach, pitch creation, and pitch creations that will enable them leave a mark, or enable them remember, be remembered, or stay in the minds of people they are pitching to?
Yeah, I think in that one, I am very much reminded of a saying that one of my favorite people, Josh Brown in LinkedIn has said, which is called "poke the bear." Okay, it's a mechanism called poke, or a framework that you think about is poke the bear. Again, going back to you want to build a good pitch, go to the process. Okay, go to a methodology. Okay, that's not to say that you just have to copy the process, because the process won't tell you exactly how to pitch the product that you're thinking about, and it may be that a particular approach in the process is not going to be suitable for you in a situation. Okay, having said that, it does allow you to start thinking in the right way, and so poke the bear is all about don't start. The best way to be able to capture the attention of somebody is not to start with your tech. Again, tech is just a mechanism to achieve an outcome. Start. And don't start with the outcome either, because the outcome may be irrelevant to the person that you're talking to. Start with the problem. Poke the bear. And what that means is you got a bear there that is sleeping. He's content, okay? He doesn't need your pitch at all. Now, he has some problems. And so what you want to do is you want to try out, based on whatever problem your company or product resolves, try to get him to react on the basis of the problem that you believe that he might have. Whether it is, for example, right now we're working on a solution to be able to accelerate and improve upon customer connections on the fiber network. Okay, so a lot of the times when customers subscribe to fiber companies, they'll send an engineer to their house to activate the fiber network and to install the router and all this kinds of stuff. Okay, so about 30% of the time, those fiber companies can't do the job that first time. Okay, and the reason why they can't do the job is because your house is not standard, and they can't physically connect in the right way. The connection point to the network is too far from your house. It could be that there are physical impediments to them putting the fiber into your house with fiber to the home, because they need to dig up your driveway, or they need to put an aerial, and there's a big tree in the middle of the house, or your house is a listed building. That 30% of the time that they send a crew of individuals out to your house, the fiber company needs to pay money to those guys, because it's not their fault that they couldn't achieve the job. It's just that the job was unachievable. So what we're doing now is we are sending customers a self-survey, so that the customer, we tell them, hey, Mr. Customer, thanks for subscribing. If you do a little survey of your house, we can get you connected faster. And people are making little videos to say, hey, this is where I want the router to be. This is how my driveway looks. This is the front of my house. This is the back where I want the cable to go in. With that information, the guys from the fiber companies can actually look at it before they send anybody out, and look at what are the characteristics of your house. And then when they do send somebody out, they get it connected first time. And that resolves failed visits. It's faster to connect. You are a more happy customer. So let's say I have this proposition that I just talked to you about. The way I would approach the CEO of OpenReach or the CEO of Virgin is to tell him, make a calculation of how many customer visits they are making, which, by the way, we know, and say, well, let's say you're spending 100 million pounds to connect customers, and 30% of the time, so 30 million of that, you are failing that visit. How are you resolving that problem? Yeah. What's the way that what's the way that you can accelerate that connection process, right? So that would poke him to say, well, hang on a minute. First, he might not even be aware that 30% exists, so he might go to his head of operations and say, hey, do you know that this is the case? And his head of operations might go, hey, you know what? Actually, for us, it's not 30, it's 25, but this is a lot of money. And he says, hang on. So how do you guys resolve that? And then you start the conversation of, okay, this is how we resolve them. That's a better way than for me to tell them, I have a self-survey for customers. Do you want it? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So that's an example of how to construct that initial pitch.
Well, yeah, that's quite interesting, and it's educative, because having full context, or having an idea of the challenges that the prospect is dealing with, that is a lot of armory to go in and create a good pitch. Instead of talking about the bells and whistles of your products and talking about the tech and how savvy your tech is to, with the modern infrastructure and AI, you talk about the problem. And you can't talk about the problem enough if you do not have data that backs up, the problem you're trying to solve. That is quite helpful.
And you see what? And you see what, Wilson? AI helps you get that data. Because I asked AI, hey, give me how many connections BT is doing, or give me how many connections Virgin is doing, and you'll get an answer straight away.
Straight away. So that's a plus for AI here, and how AI helps, to take that monotonous thing, because of course it will take you forever to, if you're going to scrape from different data sources, databases, or ask from these data companies, it takes a while. It might be very expensive, and that is not what you want. So if AI is going to help you bridge that gap, shorten the cycle, that enables you to get there as quickly as possible and create a watertight, solid pitch that would make the prospects, keep awake at night to say, hey, this problem is there and these guys can help me solve it. That is great. Okay, yeah, great. So let's move into another thing. We're talking about the sales war stories. You have a lot of them. You've been in the game for close to 20 years. You started from the ground up, and there are a couple of things you can share with us. So what has been till date the most challenging deal you've ever closed, and why?
Wow. The most challenging deal. Well, actually, a couple. Actually, yourself. A couple yourself. Perhaps one of the most challenging experiences. Well, there's a couple of them. One of them is when you don't have a very clear product yet, and you're trying to sell the concept. And this is very, very, very often in startups. Okay, so you've got a startup, you're joining a startup, you have an idea of what you want to accomplish and you want to achieve, and you understand a problem, or you try to understand the problem better from a customer standpoint as you're doing the sale. One of the challenges with that is, how do you, based on the problem that the client has got, how do you actually translate it to a product that actually can resolve that problem? Okay, and based on the fact that there's a gap between what your product can actually do and what the problem requires the product to do within that gap, and the difficulties of trying to understand whether bridging that gap is the right decision for a company to make, because sometimes it isn't. Sometimes there's a niche set of clients that you can't go after. So that happened to us in one of our previous companies when we were selling in the Nigerian market, for example. We were able to excite the client. But of course, there's always the capability to deliver that. That is the difficulty there. I think earlier in my career, mistakes that I made in sales that led me to lose deals actually were twofold. The first one is I personally am a very analytical mind. Okay, so and I'm an engineer by trade. You can't go to the university and get a degree in sales, unfortunately. You gotta do one or the other, right? So, and then you get yourself into sales. So I'm an engineer, and I'm very analytical. It took me a while to realize that a strong business proposition is not enough to get a deal. And a lot of the times I lost deals because the other side, there's always a competition. There is always competition. Even when there's no competition, there is competition. The competition is inertia, doing nothing, for example.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there is competition of substitution. So you're saying, hey, I have this great tech that is AI driven, blah, blah, blah. Your first competition is probably Excel. And you could think, oh, but these guys will never, how backward is it that they're using Excel to solve this and I can do it in AI? Yeah, but maybe it doesn't require AI to solve that problem, right? So other people were thinking more along the lines of the problem and the outcome, and I was thinking more about the proposition. And that led me to many times losing deals. Finally, I think I had one that was about 15 million a year in Turkey that I was pursuing. And I came in late into the process, a little bit late into the process, and we were doing an RFP for that, and we were competing against Accenture and a few other bits and bobs in there, and we had a strong proposition. But the difficulty, even when we thought about digital transformation and everything, this is a services sale. It was about implementing a inventory management system in one of the telcos in Turkey, and one of the things I completely missed was making a political map of the organization that was really solid and understanding who my competition was lobbying. So who was a champion of my competition and who could have been my champion, okay? And because I missed that. And in a lot of the times you go into these businesses and you feel that there's a formal buying process in place that is going to evaluate 3 different solutions in supposedly unbiased way. But the reality of the situation is that many a times there's been pre-work done by one of those solutions to make that RFP look a specific way. And then there are a series of champions in those organizations that are capable of being able to influence the outcome of that decision in a way. So I made a huge mistake by trusting that the ROI and my understanding of what they wanted to achieve, the outcome, was enough. Again, I lost out to the politics, and Accenture won that deal, which are very well connected within that organization, right? So these are the things that stumped me at the beginning, right? Thinking that having a great product or having a great ROI is enough, thinking that just because I understand the outcomes that they wanted, I didn't need to map the political organization. The reverse is also true. I've also lost a lot of time and effort where I had to connect with the CEO or I had to connect with the COO. I went there, they opened up the story, but in reality, we couldn't find a compelling problem for them to solve, or the people that are working for them didn't want to change, and that person wasn't capable or did not want to spend political capital forcing that change in that organization. That has led to many of my losses as well in the past. So now I cover, again, this is about having a process. Now I cover every single one of these points. I need to make sure, do I have the political support? Do I understand what they're trying to accomplish? Do I understand the problem? Do I understand how my solution fits into that problem? And all of these different things give me all of the markers necessary for me to say, yes, I will win this deal, or no, I will not win this deal. And I need some more work to do to be able to get it to that stage.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I can also resonate with what you're saying, especially when you have everything all covered, but the stakeholder mapping, the stakeholder influence, power, and interests is not properly done. But because you think, oh, this is going to be a deal that is going to be unbiasedly or assessed, that you stand a good chance. But like you said, that RFP was drafted by in a way that would suit one of the competitors, and I see that happen a couple of times. That is something I share with you in terms of experiences. So how now, as a salesperson, you've lost deals, you've won deals, you win some, you do some. How do you recover mentally from losing a huge deal? Now, this deal we're talking about in question, it's a big ticket, $15 million. How did you bounce back?
In life, you have to have some sort of philosophical bent into this in some ways. I think losses teach you as much, if not more, than successes. So what I typically tend to do is I stop, I analyze, I think about what led to the loss. I get feedback from everybody in the business about what happened. One of the things I would strongly advise young sellers and even mid-career sellers is always look for the support of the rest of the team to achieve your sale. Don't be overly protective. This isn't making a sale, especially at the enterprise level, is not about one individual. It's about a team of individuals that will engage with another team of individuals on the other side. And if you've done that correctly, you have a team of individuals that have experienced how you have coached or led that sale. And then you try to get the unvarnished truth, whether it hurts or not, about why you lost, and then make sure that you adjust your process and your strategy to avoid that loss again. If you do that, then you think about your losses not as it's a very costly lesson, 15 million and the commission check that goes with that, of course. But at the end of the day, you can see it as this was never mine. First and foremost, okay, the way I either myself set it up or the business was set up, this was never mine. So there's nothing I have lost in the sense that it was never mine to begin with. But you could also look at it as this is a lesson what not to do. There will be other $10 to $50 million deals in the future. And indeed, there was in this particular company. You know, we took that business. I think at the beginning, my territory was about 1 million, and we took it to about 45 million in the space of a couple of years. So there were other deals in that space that were as high as this one. And that deal that I failed taught me never to fail in the same way again. That is something that you need to always take into consideration. Then you then turn it into a positive is basically the bottom line of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And so what I'd like to ask again is the strategies that have helped you turn around near loss situations. Now, I know you touched it, you know, on the last point you made, but do you have like a go-to strategy, you know, when that will help you when you see, okay, this deal is slipping away? How do I get it back? How do I try to recover and ensure that it's alive again?
Yeah, good questions. Excellent question. So first and foremost, you know, if you feel that the deal is slipping, you would first understand why. Is it that I'm not getting engagement from the client? They've gone quiet. Is it that I'm not quite resonating? The message I'm giving them is not quite resonating with them. Is it that the ROI is too small? Is it that you're not finding clarity? You know, if you can't explain in 5 sentences, Wilson, why somebody should buy from you, you don't know. You know, and if you don't know, you're not gonna make the deal. Okay. So depending on what it is, there are steps that you can put in place to try to fix that. Okay. So if it's a political problem, if it's a relationship problem, if it's a message problem, if it's an ROI problem, is it a problem? In different stages, you have different types of issues that could potentially hit you. This is why having a process and a set of examples and tools and coaching that you might get from your sales leaders, but also from the rest of the people in the organization, allows you to do that. Let's say that more generically, actually, Wilson, the idea is you want to constantly be engaged with the client at different levels with different people. And every single one of the interactions, you need to make sure that everybody in the team that is interacting with that client, every single interaction, they get some data back that lets you know where you are in the deal. Okay. And if you set up that system properly, and if you're not the only one, because you are biased and somebody else is biased, we all have our own biases, right? So having different and diverse points of view of different people feeding you allow you to have a clarity picture. And with that clarity picture, then you can put something in play. The worst that you can be, and I have seen many salespeople be in this position, and I have been in this position when I was starting, is where you do not know why a deal is slipping. If you don't know why a deal is slipping, you will never recover it. Let's start there. You have to know, then you have to put in and test some strategies of how to make that deal recover. From, if it's a relationship problem, hey, try and connect with the individual outside of work, for example. Learn a little bit about, you know, because you've been curious, you know a little bit about their family, or you know a little bit about their situation, you can connect with them there. There are media ways that you could do to try to resolve that situation. So does that make sense? Think about it as a framework, not a particular scenario. If you were bringing me a deal for me to coach you on, then we would go into the particularities of that deal. Yeah. And that's how I would start is, do you know why your deal is slipping?
Yeah, so the why is always important because if you don't know, and again, I think a good strategy for the why is the 5 whys, you know, because if you get to the 3rd why, you actually understand why, the crux of the matter. And if you do not have an idea, clue as to why the deal is slipping, like you rightly said, then that's the main problem. That's the major problem you need to get to.
Absolutely. And to come full circle,
yeah,
people who do 5 whys are curious. If you're not curious, you don't get to the 5 whys.
5 whys, absolutely. That's full circle, like rightly stated. Okay, that's great. And thank you, Eduardo. You know, we're trying to wrap this up right now, and I'd like to ask, advice for people that will listen to this episode and will want to join, get into sales, or people that are aspiring salespeople, studying engineering like you do currently. I did currently studying engineering in school, and they're saying, okay, after this, I'd like to go into sales. I'd like to ask a couple of questions. So what skills have contributed to your success in sales to this very date? What skills have you acquired beyond your engineering degree, which made you the methodological person that you are now? So what else? What else has inspired you and propelled you to success?
Beyond the factors that I talked about at the beginning, which I will repeat them again: curiosity, passion, and persistence and process. I would suggest that the skill that is important is listening skills. Okay, if you train yourself as a function of the curiosity that you have, if you train yourself to be able to listen well and not react. One of my biggest faults myself personally is that I tend to think very fast, and not everybody thinks very fast. And actually, sometimes I end up in a place that wasn't even the direction that somebody wanted to take that conversation on, and therefore I make a mistake of understanding his or her particularities and situations. So one of the skills that took me a while to learn was listening, active and passive listening of people, and letting them take the control over the conversation and do that. That's one very, very critical skill that I would recommend anybody in sales to have. Recognize that sales is about creating value, and you can create value in any profession, whether you are a healthcare professional, you are a financial in the financial sector, in any sector where you see that the marry between people, technology, and processes can enhance something. That's where you have the opportunity to become a salesperson by creating that value wheel, introducing either a new person, a new process, or a new technology within the business that can enable somebody to help. So having passion for that is also another skill that is important. I think finally, I would say the core aspect, at the very least, of how I think about sales, especially because sales is a very numbers-driven game, is be agile. Be agile. Be quick. Test out something. Have a process to think. Okay, I'm going to do. It's basically the scientific process. I have a hypothesis. I'm going to go and test it. I'll test it. Doesn't work. Discard it. Test something else. Okay, and then try again. Try and try again. But be agile. Be flexible. Be quick. Dexterity. I'm a gamer, Wilson. So
Yes.
dexterity builds are better than strength builds in sales. Let me put it to you that way.
Okay. Yeah. Dexterity deals are better than strength deals. That is something to take home. That's a nugget. I hope you're taking that. It's a nugget. Dexterity deals are better than strength deals, right? So that is something very important. And so, what about mentorship? How influential, how important is mentorship in sales?
I think it is very important. Typically you will have coaches. It's not very common though. So actually having a mentor is a very, very important leg up in any career, in sales in particular as well. So having somebody that has a lot of experience helping you, where you have the trust that you can tell them, hey, this is what's happening. I mean, CEOs do it all. CEOs are one of the most lonely jobs that there exist, because CEOs can't go and confide on basically anybody in their business, okay? Because they have all of the privileged information themselves. So they typically try and get a mentor outside of the CEO network. Well, salespeople are mini CEOs in many ways. And in many ways, they also need a space where you can actually talk reality with mentors. You're not selling to them that this is a good deal or this is a whatever, you're going to make millions. It's like you're telling them, hey, I'm in real trouble here. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Here's my issue. Or help me decide between this kind of territory or this kind of promotion, or am I good for that? So I think mentors are very important. They are very rare. in sales. Typically what you get is you join a company and you'll get your manager being your coach. Okay, and so there is a vested interest there between the coach and the coachee, let's say, and that is not as powerful as a mentor. So I would suggest, Wilson, very important, but it's very rare. If you get one, hold on to them.
So mentors are like gold mine. If you find anyone, a good mentor, hold on to them, cling on to them like your life depends on it. Okay, yeah. So Eduardo, if people want to get in contact with you, how can they reach you?
Oh, well, I mean, LinkedIn. So, I'm happy to accept a connection request from anybody. And I love to help young people or even mid-career people, to be able to become better sellers and hopefully better professionals as a whole. I mean, I'm on that journey. I haven't reached there. Okay, so I'm still on the journey, but at the very least, we can meet in that journey and we can help each other learn as we move within that road, let's say, together.
Okay. So I will. Eduardo's LinkedIn profile will be on the show notes for everybody interested. I'm sure you would learn a lot from him. He has the experience, and the beauty about Eduardo is that he has sales experience in multiple continents, multiple regions. He has tested it. So when he says things, it's not saying kind of thin air. It's something that he has lived, the experience that he has lived. That's why it's a privilege and honor for him to come in here and spend some time with us. And I'm sure it was worth your while to the listeners. It was worth my while. I enjoy listening to Eduardo. He knows, so it's a privilege speaking with you. So thank you so much, Eduardo, for your time. And any last words as we close?
No, thank you so much for inviting me. I hope this conversation helps. Any of the ideas that we put together helps people out there. And definitely appreciate the time that you guys have taken to be able to listen to me. I go on quite a lot. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. Thank you all for listening. And that's it for today's episode. And looking forward to the next one. But for now, it is bye from me and Eduardo. Thank you very much. Bye for now.